Welcome to Fire Engineering Radio and to our show, Pride and Ownership, The Love for the Job. I'm your host, Chief Rick Lasky, and wanted to just couple comments right off the get-go here. One is I've got the distinct honor. It's an honor and a privilege to serve on the FDIC Advisory Board, the Fire Department Instructor Conference Advisory Board for Penwell, for fire engineering. We hold the big program, if you will, is in Indianapolis. It's in Indy every year, usually in April. Last year, I've talked a little before about it. I think we had 28,720 something. You have to ask Chief Halton. Real quick, excuse me. Last time we were visiting with Chief Florentino, Joe Florentino from Little Elm, Texas, and about how departments get along and what they do and relationships and knocking down those walls and working together and what we could do for volunteer firefighters. And one of the things we talked about was the Denton County Fire Chiefs line of duty death procedure and their funeral chiefs guideline. And one of the things I failed to mention, this is a big boo-boo, is when we put that program together here in Denton County, for those of you that have policy, there's one big name in there that you need to be aware of, and he always takes a back seat to that kind of stuff, but I'm going to point it out here. Chief Bobby Halton, the editor-in-chief from Fire Engineering, when Bobby was chief down here in Coppell, Texas, he took the lead on that. I think he put about 3 months of his life, every day into that project and that program. So, it's just one of those things. You're moving along, you're talking about it, and probably the one person I needed to give credit to it was Bobby, because he was instrumental in getting that pulled off. So once again, that's the Denton County Fire Chiefs line of duty death funeral chiefs guideline. If you want a copy of that, you can get a hold of me or listen to the show with Chief Florentino. Brother Joey will be happy to get you a copy of that. It's an incredible document that'll help you really work through an extremely difficult time. We just had to use it here recently, and unfortunately in Texas, and just a very nice way to do the right thing for a fallen brother or sister and their families in that department. But back to the FDIC Advisory Board, it again, for that conference, being able to serve on that board it's an incredible process. A lot of people are not aware of, and I just wanted to tell you about it. Once a year, Bobby calls us into a meeting. We've been doing it up in Tulsa, where Penwell's international headquarters is, and we get together. And Dave McGrail from Denver, Brother Dave, and I, since the first day, 12, 13 years ago that we started serving on that committee, we just look around the room and go, how the hell did we end up with this? This is some of the most incredible people in the fire service, the movers and shakers, and the two of us are sitting there going, how do we end up with this? It's just an honor. And just to give you an idea, what goes in besides all the other work that Bobby and Diane Fellman and Virginia, the whole group, what they put into that program, there's so many people, we don't have enough time to mention them, that make it a huge success. It's, being on that board, being able to sit down, we talk about what worked last year, what didn't work, how were the keynote speakers. Let's back up, let's talk about the hot programs. What programs do we need to keep, which do we need to do away with for right now, maybe, give them a year off and come back, and what's new and happening, and logistics, all kinds of stuff. We never get into the exhibits. That's a whole other group within Penwell that takes care of the exhibitors. And then we move into, which keynoters do we want next year? Who do we want to fill in all the different venues, the programs, ideas, topic. It's an incredible, jam-packed 2-day process. The first day, the first day is all FDIC. The second day is almost all the magazine. I know Parochial got to come in and talk about the website and all the incredible things going on with that, like, the shows they've been able to do like this, but this is just such a small part of all the neat things happening on the website. But it's a cool 2 days. But folks, there's a lot of time that's put into. I wish we could put in all the classes. You review hundreds of calls for papers when you sit as board, and you wish you could put in all 10 on thermal imaging cameras or all 50 on leadership and all 25 on garden apartments, but you can't. You got to kind of go with your gut and which one you think fits best, and you just wish you could get everybody in there. So if you're not selected, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not good. It's just there's just only so many classes and so much space. So I just want to kudos to Chief Halton and to Eric Schlett, the big boss, Mr. Biachini, the biggest boss, the head honcho for Penwell for letting that committee work. It serves an incredible purpose and makes things happen. And shifting just slightly to another area, I've mentioned it before. Besides not going to this website, and fire engineering and making this work, you can get lost on this thing for days doing stuff and educating and training and doing all kinds of neat things. You need to get to Firefighter Close Calls. Tie those two websites together. Get Chief Goldfeder, Billy Goldfeder's site, firefighterclosecalls.com. You take what he's doing. You take what Fire Engineering and Penwell are doing with this website, and I don't care if your budget's getting slashed and you've got fuel costs right now that are through the roof. You can make it happen with those two websites, especially this one with Penwell. All right, today we've got another special guest with us. I've got a lot of fire service brothers, but this guy is one of those that I truly have no problem telling people I love with all my heart, and I mean it with my heart. He's probably the closest thing to a brother I've got besides John Salka, the two of them. Kenny Gabriel is the chief of the Coeur d'Alene Fire Department in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Kenny, welcome to the show.
Well, good morning, Chief. How are you? And I hope you know that I feel the exact same about you. So what a great compliment right off the bat. Thank you.
I appreciate that, buddy. But, and people that know me know that I do. I visit, I talk about, there's people in life you just appreciate that make a difference, and that, when you talk about friendship and the true meaning, there's some great folks out there. And and I'm not kissing your ass for any other reason other than that's the real thing. You're the real McCoy, buddy. Hey, you've been in the fire service for a little over 25 years, paid. Tell us a little bit about Coeur d'Alene. I could go on for days. I think I should work in the Visitors Bureau there. I think it's an incredible place. But tell the folks, tell our listeners, where's Coeur d'Alene located, and give us an idea about the demographics there a little bit.
Well, you are the best cheerleader for Coeur d'Alene. You are part of our Visitors Bureau, so thank you for that. And we're situated in Kootenai County, which is about 60 miles from the Canadian border in the panhandle between Washington and Montana. Kind of at the foothills of the Rocky Mountains, and we have beautiful Lake Coeur d'Alene and lakes all around us, and we're blessed to live in just a beautiful, beautiful part of the country, Rick. It's just a great place to raise your kids and grow up, and there's times you pinch yourself to say, they pay me to do this job, and then they pay me to do this job here. It's just fantastic.
Peter, I'm going to pause there for a second. Are you getting the clicking I'm getting?
No, I'm not hearing anything.
Kenny, are you getting it?
I'm not, no.
Okay, good. So it's not interfering with anything at your end, Peter? I didn't want to keep going, and I got this poppy noise going on. It's not bad. I just want to make sure it's not interfering with anything.
No, it's not even coming across on the thing, so I think we're okay.
Okay, so I'll let it go, and we can pick up from here. Kenny, Coeur d'Alene's also known for, there's a lot of history. I was amazed the first time I went there. I think it's what most people, they get off the plane, Spokane Airport's 30, 45 minutes away.
Yeah, about 45 minutes, yeah.
You pull up, you're coming down, you're shooting into Coeur d'Alene, you look and you go, where did this place come from? My boss, I've got great bosses here. My direct report, Donna Barron, my assistant city manager, went there, and she picked up the phone, Kenny, and she said, "You must really love your son to have left this place." She said, she goes, no disrespect, she goes, "I love Hawaii." She goes, "I'm coming back here. This is absolutely incredible." And it's hard to, you could talk for about an hour and you couldn't describe all the neat things going on. A lot of history. Hey, and what's that big building downtown everybody talks about all the time?
That'd be the Coeur d'Alene Resort. Mr. Hagedorn built that quite a few years ago, and it's just one of the premier resorts in the country that's connected to one of the top 10 resort golf courses in the country with the world's only floating green.
That's right.
So, and you've played that before, haven't you?
I played it with, I believe you, and with one of the former players, Steve Judy. And I actually parred that thing, which they give you a little certificate saying you got to take the boat over there. I thought for sure I was going to lose about 50 golf balls. I actually was joking with the lady who drives the boat. I said, "Can I just put my ball here? Can we drive it over there? Can I chip off the edge of the boat?" And she wouldn't let me do that. But
you got the certificate for parting it, and I got the certificate for most balls lost in the lake. So it worked out well for both of us.
You and I are the same way. We don't call it golfing; we call it gardening because we spend more time fixing grass and in the bush.
Amen to that, brother. Amen to that.
But
yeah, we do have the resort, and it's right on beautiful Lake Coeur d'Alene, which goes into the Spokane River, and we're just lucky to be living in the valley all around. It's just a great place.
Well, mountains, the lakes, the rivers, the water's crystal clear. When we talk about history, the gold mining, silver mining, timber industry, I told a lot of folks, Kenny, that I told him the story about the wood and water man. I was guilty on some of the other shows, and when I walked into your office and back in February and said, "What's that?" And you go, "That's for you, big guy." And I went, "Oh my God!" And I'm looking at it right now. And one of my guys, I sent you the pictures. It's just incredible. It's history. It's from the Fort Grounds there in Fort Sherman. That's been there since the 1850s or whatever.
Right.
And 4th of July, I know you hold a huge parade there with tens of thousands of people. Christmas parade. How long ago was it? Good Morning America came out there, didn't they?
They did last year. Yeah, we were part of the Christmas USA, and they were out last year. It started the whole thing at about 4 o'clock in the morning, about 10 below zero, and we had 10,000 people out at 4 o'clock in the morning. It was great. Great community involvement.
Well, the secret's out. I know Regis also had it on there. I think it was America's Best Kept Secret, and people know about it. I mean, you're hosting, and this is something, when we do a show later on how to work your way through and some of these special events, we do a lot of things here, Bassmasters, 4th of July, holiday at the Hall, Christmas, Labor Day stuff, the Western Days, a lot of great things the City of Louisville does. I mean, our Visitors Bureau is tied right there. The two best in the country, I'll say, are Coeur d'Alene and the City of Louisville's Visitors Bureau. Tell us, just take a couple minutes. What's it take? You guys are hosting the Ironman, Ironman big competition in Coeur d'Alene. What time of year? How many people come to visit? How many people compete? How do you handle something like that?
Well, the first time, let me get back to what the event is. It's the Ironman Triathlon, 2,200 or 2,200 participants, and it spreads out throughout the entire county. And the City of Coeur d'Alene provides EMS service for the entire event throughout the entire county. It's challenging. 48 folks. That's all we have, including our on-duty folks, to run the entire event. And thanks to Division Chief Tom Greif, he runs it. And matter of fact, he's been asked by a bunch of other cities who do this how he does it so well. But we just have dedicated folks. Everybody comes back, and it takes us about a week to plan it. And with the help of Ironman and their support, we pull it off every year. And it's an amazing event. I don't know why people put themselves through it. My hat's off to them for doing it, but quite an event, quite a coordinating effort for Tom, and it just gets better every year, and every year you do it, just like Chief, we've talked about it before. Each year it gets a little easier and a little bit better, but those challenges are always there. It's amazing. It's great. It's
a huge event, and and we've talked before. I'm blessed. I've got an incredible staff here. I mean, I really do. Up and down the chain, I've got a great department, great staff. I miss my brothers and sisters in Coeur d'Alene and yourself. I've got the dream team when it comes to my two assistant chiefs, Tim Tittle and Daryl Brown. I do. I literally have, and to all the human resources departments and headhunters out there, stay the hell away from them. They're not going anywhere. They're staying right here because we're getting calls all the time of people that want to hire them and bring them on board as a chief. I want them, so stay away. But Tommy Greif, what's he do for you?
Tom's my division chief of EMS, and he's a guy that transformed a system that was about to go bankrupt. That was the Kootenai County Emergency Medical Services System. They were about to go bankrupt, and you were a big part of getting that changed, Chief, and went from a private ambulance service that was going to come in, provide 2 ambulances in the entire county, to a fire-based system that has 13 ambulances in the county. And Tom pretty much is the operations chief for that entire system and has brought something that was going to be a disaster to one of the premier EMS systems in the country. And Tom had his fingers in that, his signatures all over it, and he pretty much single-handedly runs it for the county. Like you, we're so thrilled to have the people we have in staff. It just makes life so much easier and really takes us to that next level.
And that's why I kind of put you on a spot there, but I knew because I know Tom, and he's your Tim or Daryl there, where he's just taking care of business for you. It's a great system, very, very highly regarded EMS system for the entire county. I know for one of your neighboring departments, we have some of their paramedics actually coming down to Louisville. In fact, we just re-signed a contract again for them and for a group from Alaska to come down and do their ride-out time here. And we're on it to do it, and we put them up and take care of them and everything else. But great things going on there. And none of this happens, Kenny. I go on and on about my bosses. I've got a mayor here, Gene Carey, that if I were to find myself in the unemployment line, don't ask him to come to a badge pinning where he could pin a badge on somebody. Don't ask him to come to an award. Say, this guy bleeds Louisville. He's the longest tenured mayor now. When it's election time, I mean, once in a while I'll say it, some fool will end up running against him, and I'm like, that's just silly. This guy his heart's in it. He's just supported the entire city. He loves his police officers, everybody in the city, all the other city departments, loves his fire department. I've got a great city manager, Claude King, who just finds all kinds of ways to help us and take care of us and support this. And we're going to have him on a future show, Kenny, because I think a lot of people haven't heard from the city manager side how it takes to run their corporation.
Right.
Having a good boss makes things happen, and I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to your city manager, Wendy Hague. Wendy is just she's another one of those. I compare her to my assistant city manager, Donna Barron. When I worked there, she is the dream boss. She is so smart, it's scary. She's just so, intelligent, and has the common sense and the forward thinking, and just, you look and you go, first of all, you're not going to pull off anything without her knowing about it. She's just so tuned into everything. When I came back there in February, I called Jamie. I was almost in tears because I missed Coeur d'Alene so much. But I was almost disappointed that the city has done the wonderful things. I was hoping, okay, I'm not missing anything. She and your mayor and council and your department have done incredible things. She's the dream city manager that you would want to work for. But that being said about Wendy being incredible, you got to tell me about your mayor, because so many people out there, Kenny, they're not blessed to have the mayors that you or I have. What's it like working for your mayor?
All you can say is it's a gift. And our mayor, Sandy Bloom, same as your mayor, Chief. She's been the longest tenure, the first and only female mayor in Coeur d'Alene's history, the only two-term mayor. And like with you, we kind of pity who's going to run next because she is so popular. And she's popular because she's a lifelong resident of Coeur d'Alene, born and raised here, owned businesses here. And how many people can say that the Union Administration retreat is held at her little cabin up the Coeur d'Alene River, and how many mayors come out and cook for the firefighters when they're having their retreat? That's how blessed we are. This
is not a relationship where they always talk about the unions in bed with the mayor or whatever, because you and I are very strong, big believers and advocates of labor. We're very much supporters of that. This is not one of those, the tail wagging a dog. The relationship there between the local and your mayor is incredible. She just has this gift, and you couple her with Wendy, the two of them running that city, it's incredible. And the neat things that are happening, and they support your fire department. I've seen it firsthand. Anybody else that's driven there or been there, if you don't see that, you're sleeping somewhere under a rock. But incredible people, and you are gifted, buddy. You're it's a neat thing to have. And it's Sandy. Is it Sandy Bloom?
Yes.
Is that okay? And I want to make sure. I remember meeting her when I was there, and she was instrumental in so many different programs, even before she was mayor. She's always been active. And this is definitely not someone that's into it for the ego. It's someone that's into it make a difference in her community.
Oh, that's exactly right. And, she really does preach team, and we hear that from all over, but she preaches team and lives by it. Between Wendy, Sandy, and then John Ingalls, who's the assistant city administrator, there's nothing we can't tackle together, and they are willing to just go do anything we need to do to make what we feel our core services is public safety the best it can be in Coeur d'Alene.
Well, and I remember when John came on, he had retired fairly high up, I think a commander, or I forget his exact rank with the Navy.
Correct.
Came over and took over Public Works, right?
Yes.
And just, golly, you talk customer service and a good deal, and what a good, you couldn't go wrong there. You're right, there's three great people. I'm blessed. Now, moving away from there, we've got the good bosses that support us, we've got the people making things happen for us staff-wise. I know you've got some challenges there. Our challenge here, training-wise, Kenny, is getting everybody trained like I'm sure you do in all the different requirements that you need to do in all the different, areas arenas that the fire service are involved in. We're big into dive rescue here. We have 56 divers. That's our big specialty, and that's what we do. Up there, it isn't a specialty. It's a necessity. How do you balance the whole wildland fire suppression, EMS training thing? wildland is big time where you're at. I mean, here it's big, but you got the mountains with what the chief used to say from L.A. County, the pointy trees for fuel. And the challenge is, how do you train people on both sides of the wall there?
It's something. It's a yearly process. We try to do the classroom as early as we can. Where we're lucky is when you were here, Chief, we started with the first ever mutual aid agreement with Idaho Department of Lands in the state. And that agreement, obviously helps us operationally, but what it really did was open up the door for training. So Department of Lands is a huge partner with the city when it comes to our training. We train side by side with them. We put our officers through the same training that theirs go through, and that is something we try to do classroom in the winter. Something we've started recently, too, is the technical rescue team. We're one of 2 technical rescue teams in the state of Idaho, which, as you know, with dive, what an endeavor.
Oh, yeah.
Thank goodness through the GO bond, which we'll talk about a little bit later, we just built our training facility. But, we're still growing. We're in a great spot right now, but we weren't in this spot forever. We still don't have a full-time training officer. So we put that to our captains, and it's through their hard work and their dedication that we get all of the certifications that we need, that we get where we need to be training-wise. It's because of their hard work. That's about the easiest way to say it. They just do a great job for us.
And it comes back to that relationship thing. You mentioned the relationship you have with the Department of Lands that I got to see firsthand there. The relationships that you've been able to forge with your neighbors. I was reading an article in my morning newspaper is the Coeur d'Alene Press, cdapress.com, and I saw the job you guys had up there where Glenn Lauper, your deputy chief, right?
Yes.
And they went ahead, and he's another incredible arson investigator. Arrested the guy for arson. It was good job. Nobody lost a life. But it's a busy area. But when you see how well you work with your neighboring departments, and then that whole Department of Lands, I mean, when it comes to wildland stuff, I grew up in Chicago and out in the suburbs of Chicago. Wildlife to me was a pigeon. and when I moved out there, it's like, oh my God! And you would think, well, Coeur d'Alene's out in the rural America. It's not. Here's this city that's been there forever, dropped in the middle of unbelievable beauty in North Idaho, and then you've got surrounded by this wildland interface issue, and it's mind-boggling. I don't know how you guys pull it off, but you do.
Well, it's just we work hard for it. We work hard with our mutual aid companies. Again, I'm going to talk about what you did for a second. Before you got here, there were walls up that would reach to the sky. You knocked down all those walls, and because of that, it helps us considerably on the wildland fires. And like with structure fires, the box alarms that you set up when you were here are still in place today, and those have just moved over to the wildland side.
Well, Kenny, and the history's there. We were able to pull some folks together, mainly, and it's no different than what Chief Florentino, Joey, and I were talking about on the last show, where it's not about ego. It's not about who's bigger or who's better. It's about taking care of your firefighters and getting them taken care of and making sure they're safe with enough people, enough personnel to run the scenes. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I mean,
well, it is. That's exactly what it is, and it's the barriers. And because of our ability to finally erase those barriers, we have a seamless process in our county now, which is, to most of the world is like, well, we've been doing that for years. For us, it's this brand new setup where we come and go out of the city, and we have departments coming in, taking calls for us constantly because, Chief, remember, we're 7,500 calls out of 3 stations, and we're hopping. So we need their help all the time, and they do as well. So finally, we're to a point to where we should have been 20 years ago. But things are slow up here in North Idaho. It takes us a little while to get there, but when we do, we try to do it pretty well. So
that's not true, but but I guess here's the next step with this whole thing. A lot of it has to do with in order to forge these relationships with a little bit of the respect and of what you've got going with the other departments around you, other communities, and the relationships you have, and how people look at, are they easy to get along with? Are we going to make this happen? Are they safe? Do they train? Do they have the same ideas we do? Here's my question for you. Knowing and having been there, I mean, take us back in time a little bit. I mean, this is a fire department that's been there since 1889, Coeur d'Alene Hose Company, right?
Yes.
A lot of history, box alarms, street boxes on the streets back at Coeur d'Alene, telegraphs, just a neat steamboats on the Coeur d'Alene, huge steamboats on Lake Coeur d'Alene, and just, a lot of things hopping and moving, and very respected fire department, good group of guys, and as can happen sometimes, we make some choices in our frustrations, I guess it is, with how we handle things with our administration or with the city government, and sometimes they're not maybe the best, and things were really moving in a good direction. You guys were doing all kinds of stuff, and way back when something happened that changed that, right?
Well, there was, and that's when Local 1494 went on strike, and that was a event that changed the face of the fire department. It was just quite a tumultuous time for the department and for the city, and that kind of set the stage for right now, really, Chief. It did. One of our council members was the mayor back then, and he's completely changed the way he looks at the way we do things, and that's because we went from as bad as it could get and built ourselves to trying to be the best we can be.
Well, and you and I, and I'll even say there's a lot of folks that know us, know that Chief Gabriel, Kenny, and I, we do a program, together and separate, called Going from That Fire Department, and that's capitalized, to the fire department, and the is capitalized. Going from that fire department to the fire department, the rebuilding of a fire department, kind of going from the furnace room to the penthouse. And let's take the politics out of it. Let's take all the rest of the stuff. What went on? What happened? It's just never a good thing to go on strike with when you're the fire department. That's me. If you don't, that's my opinion. And I know frustrations or else. I'm not even going to get into why things happened, what they didn't. But you're right. It kind of, look what happened in Chicago after that. It screwed things up there for a long time. And they've got some good folks at the top taking care of business, and they've come a long way with what they've done there. But Kenny, it kind of, things grinded to a halt there, didn't it?
For a long time. The mayor, council, and administration at the time, they just absolutely pretty much put the fire department on the back burner, and thank goodness for the people, the firefighters that were there at the time, because they held it all together. And they were there when you were here, Chief. There were amazing guys that did everything right and tried to do the best, but they had to do it on a shoestring and in a situation to where our fire department was literally hours from going to a volunteer fire department, to the city contracting to a volunteer department just to the west of us. And if it wasn't for one council member, Chris Kopstead, we would not be the Coeur d'Alene Fire Department anymore. We were that close to being gone. So we knew we had to change things, and we had to change them in a hurry.
Well, and that's not to diss a volunteer fire department, because I know for years, do you still utilize volunteers, Kenny?
We do not.
Okay, but for years you did, and you and I have a tremendous amount of respect and admiration for those who volunteer, across the country, across North America, as volunteer firefighters. No disrespect to that.
None whatsoever. No.
Yeah, you're taking a department. And I remember the comments that some of the senior guys were asking, well, do we get to keep our jobs? And the answer was, well, yeah, you could test for them just like everybody else. Correct.
And, yeah, I'm with you. I started as a volunteer, and I have the utmost respect for them. It was just that close to becoming that department. And, it was tough. And, I can think Rob Beck, our our human resource director, said, you guys need to make yourself so valuable that they won't dare mess with you.
Well, and it took people like Chris Kopstead, a councilman who was, I'm telling you, another guy whose heart was in to take care of the community and would stand up for what he believed in. Then along came a new mayor, Steve Judy, progressive thinker, and they made a decision. But I remember coming in there. I'll never forget. To be honest, I didn't know where Coeur d'Alene was. I had to call there. I saw this advertisement, and I was going through a stressful time at my work. At the time, kind of a lot of things I've talked about before, working for a mutt, and I read that and I said, I got a call, but how do you pronounce this? Corda. And I called up there and I said, oh, it's Coeur d'Alene or Coeur d'Alene, with the French, the definition behind it and all this different stuff. And I remember Jamie and I, when we got in there, we did it. We're like, oh, look at this. This is unbelievable. And then we're driving around doing my homework before the interview, and I go to your main station, and I pull up. I go, all right, this can't be the firehouse. This has got to be like an old station or just like where they store equipment. And I looked through the window and said, no, there's a couple old engines in there, and you know where I'm going with this. And then one of your guys, Carney MacArthur, was doing getting ready for his wildland test, his red carding, right? And he was doing his thing with the weights, walk around. He comes up, he goes, hi. He goes, you one of the candidates? Very good detective that he was. And I said, yeah. He goes, well, good luck to you. He goes, you know anything about the department? I said, no. He goes, I guess it's, good to not know some of the things that are going on. I went, oh my God, what am I, but, coming in there and then, meeting the people, meeting the guys, like coming here to Louisville, kind of, they weren't getting rid of the fire department, but they were kind of forgot about, it's some situations going on and just a lot of lacking leadership kind of thing. And Kenny, it was the same thing, it's kind of, again, we're both blessed. We've talked about how we've came, but people come to Coeur d'Alene or they come to Louisville and they go, wow, this is great. But if they only were to go back 8 years, 10 years, 12 years, depending on where you're at, and go, holy cow, I wouldn't recognize the place, the rigs, the people, the stuff, just all your guys needed was someone to come in and support them.
Correct.
And lead them, buddy. They just needed someone to come in and go out and brag about them because ain't nobody wearing a white shirt making all this stuff happen. The guys are. And, look at the programs, the things that you've got going, some of the initiatives, some of the things we're stealing, by the way. We're stealing the Food Drive Santa program. We're going to do that, buddy. So, by the way, I'll let you know how that goes.
Oh, good.
I want to thank you ahead of time. We're taking that one from you, pal. But, when I got there and I look around and you're on the AM talk, the radio show there, pumping up the fire department. We got other guys out there doing great stuff, and it was just a matter of opening up, I'll say the cage or the can, because once you set those guys loose, oh my God! They were. Next thing you know, they're doing the Santa programs. They're tearing roofs off the library. They're moving books. They're doing stuff. They're just it's incredible. But what does it take? How do you get? That's what people always ask. Well, how did you do that? How do you get people to? Kenny, in Coeur d'Alene, how did you get people to sit up and say, just with that human resources, how do you become valuable?
Well, I think they wanted to. I think all along, and we at the time, because I was on the line at that time, and everybody wanted to be that fire department. Everybody wanted to be that big in the community, but there wasn't that push. And we need pushes at times. This gentleman by the name of Rick Lasky came in and gave us an identity back and gave us that push and pride, honor, and integrity. Those three big words that are still the three values of the Coeur d'Alene Fire Department today. When you have folks that have that already and somebody that supports you in that, that is what sparked the whole thing. That's what sparked flipping burgers at the library for the summer reading and the Iron Man and state champs that fill the boot all the time and International Fire Chiefs Awards of Excellence and EMS Agency of the Year. Those are the things that spark that. And, we don't like to tell of our successes. I think the fire service as a whole is poor at bragging about their successes. But when you go from being gone to being an EMS Agency of the Year, back in the day, Chief, when you were here, we weren't even allowed to go on calls right next door to the fire station. It just needed a breed of folks to go in there and say, no, this is not what's best for our constituents and our taxpayers. A mayor and council to support, administration to say, how come this isn't working this way, and let the guys and gals go do what they do so very well.
Well, and that's, you said it, turning them loose. They want, you got to have the desire, and that's what I tell folks. They say, how do you make all this happen? How do you fix it? How do you get the guys pumped up, the men and women of the department to want to go out in the community and make a difference? And I tell them, where do you want to go? Same thing we talked about there and here, Kenny. I tell the guys, you're in control of your own destiny, not me. You and I could ride in there on unicycles, balancing plates, spinning sticks with stuff on fire on top of our nose, and if the troops don't buy into, some of the stuff, yes, you can call it customer service. I told Chief Bruno, he told Bruno, you were there with me, and we were over in Spokane. I walked up to him and said, all this customer service stuff you can change. I said, this really works. And he laughed. He goes, I told you. You know, we're not out there doing crazy, we were helping people, and we were getting involved in the community, and that the fire service has always been that way. They have always been involved, Kenny, right? With the food drives, with Santa, with going out and just helping people. The fire service, I don't care if you think that's new to the fire service, you haven't been reading your history books. They've been doing it forever.
Right,
forever.
And that's something you and I have been saying forever is, you don't pick the fire service, it picks you. And it picks the people that want to shovel, the folks' sidewalks in the wintertime, and it wants to make sure the food bank is full, and it wants to do the vouchers so the people that are in a wreck, you go pick their stuff up and take it to the station until the tow truck gets there. They want to do that.
Can you tell me, there was something that happened there with, didn't you have a couple stranded, an older couple, snowbound or something?
Yeah, we had some folks that were stuck up, and, this is the worst or best, whichever way you want to look at it, winter we've ever had, and we got a phone call saying, these folks are up here, and we haven't seen them for a while, and we'd had about 4 feet of snow in the last 2 days, and crews went up there, shoveled them out, went and got their medication, went to the store and got groceries for them, put their clothes in the laundry for them, started their car for them. They just went up and did that on their own. I mean, I didn't even know about it until I saw it in the paper the next day, because they don't say anything. It's just what they do. And I think that you will find that throughout the entire country.
And isn't that cool? I said it the other day, Kenny, and we're talking about how do you get, going from that fire department to the fire department. This is how. That's how you do this stuff. You help people. You help those people like that was your mom and dad or your grandma or grandpa. The other day, twice in one shift, we made trips to the airport here. We had an accident in the morning. Medic 3 calls their battalion chief. I'm sitting right next to him. He goes, well, of course, do it. And I go, what's up? He goes, well, they had an accident, no injuries, but the guy's car's totaled, but he's going to be late for his flight. And I said, what were they asking? If they could take him. We're 10 minutes from the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. And he goes, you heard me tell him. Why? Of course. Why not? It doesn't even have to go to the chief. You don't even know that stuff. And then that afternoon we had a rollover, Kenny. And this lady, she rolled her car. God, she was so lucky. She destroyed her Explorer on I-35. We get there. I ended up getting in there first, couple blocks away. And she's banged up, but she's on the way to the airport, to DFW, to pick up her son and daughter-in-law and their child that are flying from San Diego because she's burying her husband tomorrow. And the plane is landing while we're cutting her out of her car. So we get one of the division chiefs, you know where I'm going with this. He comes over, we get him the flight information, call American Airlines, find out where baggage claim is. He calls, leaves a message, gets a whole fine, goes there, picks them up at the airport, takes them to the hospital. How hard is it to do some of this stuff? And how far does that go, Kenny, when you walk into, Mayor Bloom or into Wendy's office, the city manager, and go, and they say, hey, we got this letter. And I didn't even know the guys did that. That's good. How far does that go?
How far does it go? We can kind of quantify how far it goes. First of all, like Chief Brunacini said, it's right to do the right thing.
Right.
But second of all, when you looked at that fire station, looked into those old apparatus, and we knew we were so far away, woefully understaffed, when you go to your mayor and council and say, we would like to go do a $10 million general obligation bond for facilities and apparatus, and then free up money to hire more people, and they say, oh, great idea, go ahead. So from a department that almost got given away to a department that passed a $10 million bond in a time to where people didn't want to raise taxes at all by nearly 80%, your customer service also helps in that realm huge as well.
Well, I told people, we made Reader's Digest here, and the story is the guys went, they ran on a call. Now, a man and woman just got done finishing, getting their whole front lawn ready to put new sod down. He had chest pains. We got there, and he's having a big one. And the guys get back in quarters, and one of the captains, Mark Lee, who's now the interim chief, hopefully to be the chief in Murphy, Texas, senior captain on the tower ladder, rough and tough captain, crash and banger, and he goes, guys, all that sod's going to die. And they go back out to the engine of the truck. They stay in service. They lay all the sod. They clean up, put the tools away, put the kids' toys away, commandeer landscaping crew's lawnmower, mow the backyard, come back, don't tell anybody. Do the same thing, Kenny. Don't tell anything. Don't say nothing because it ain't no big. And this guy wakes up. When he comes to, it gets better. He calls the president. He calls the governor. He calls Reader's Digest. Reader's Digest does a story called The Sad Story, not a sad story, how firefighters do more than just fight fires. And I tell people, take that Reader's Digest magazine and lay that on the table when you sit down for contract negotiations or when you're going for that rescue, that referendum or those bonds. Or, you know, Kenny, that's like gold in your hands.
Well, it's making yourself so valuable. You know, this is something that still stays in my mind, Chief, that you had taught me was you want the people to call the fire department to know how to make a turkey. If they have a question about anything that's going on, call your fire department because they know.
What's wrong with them wanting to come? When you sit there and somebody, right, we said, I don't care if they don't get their newspaper delivered. Think of us first. When they are thinking of you first, that's incredible. And that, I mean, I'm telling you, you could go through a bad mayor. You could go through a bad city manager. You could go through a bad fire chief. When you're out there doing that stuff, when you're reading to children, I'm telling you, I've got the bumper stickers that say, I'd rather be pulling ceiling. That's one of my favorite sayings. Mm-hmm. I'm a crash and beggar. I'm a slobber knocker. You know, I'd rather be, you know, pulling ceiling. I'm a truck, but I'm telling you, I'm first to tell you, you know, for me, for this thing, it's incredible, and the results are there. How with all the program you get, you know, again, I wish we had 8 hours. We could talk about how you get all the programs going. You know, that's one of the things. Just being active. It doesn't even take a program. It just means going out and help people. How do you sustain that, Kenny? How do you? You've had these programs going. How do you keep the energy going with the reading program or with flipping burgers or you know, the union hosting the mayors and manager? How do you? Because, you know, sometimes after a while loses its pizzazz and then it kind of falls. How do you keep it going?
Culture. You do your best to make it a culture that is just second nature, and that's exactly what you do. Just like putting your gear on and jumping in the truck and driving out for the fire, you try to make it a culture to where that's just the norm, and you do that. You know, we try to do it a couple ways. One is the union is involved in everything we do. And, for example, the marketing committee that comes up with all the programs that we do, well, that's a union committee that one of our chief officers sit on, and they get to help sustain it and come up with ways in which we can sustain it. Keep that committee going, keep the union involved, keep the culture going.
Yeah, you're not really talking about communications, are you?
Well, we've seen it poor, haven't we? Well, we've seen where communication is not good, and I'm a dues-paying member of the IFF Local 710, and the reason is they're the ones that make us look good.
Well, and I remember the contract negotiations. Right. I think it was right after you took over. I think they sat down and the mayor opened up and said, "Okay, let me start. I want to go ahead and give you this, and this." And I know the executive board, E-board looked over at each other and he goes, "I'm sorry, did I miss something?" They go, "No, we're hurrying up trying to think of more stuff to ask." And I think they were done in, like, I maybe exaggerate, like 45 minutes. And then some other folks in the city had gone to arbitration. That's back to that relationship building you're talking about. Do you remember when we put? Remember we put the union stickers on the helmets? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
Thing? When I asked Dave Dotson, not the Dave Dotson out there teaching how to read and smoke. It's the Dave Dotson, the art of learning how to cook like a chef, because the guy is a chef and he's incredible. But remember, I went to Dave. I said, why don't we put these union stickers on the helmets? Let's agree where and what kind of stickers so we don't get carried away. And I remember when we were handing out those helmets, I remember one guy grabbed it and he almost dropped it. He goes, "Is this a setup?" I said, "What?" He goes, "Well, we can't have those on the helmet." I looked at my badge. I said, "Fire chief." And little things like that, like Tom Freeman would say, Chief Tom Freeman and Lyle Woodridge, when on the west side of Chicago, when he let them put the union stickers on their rigs, Kenny, he said, it's like he gave him a $10,000 raise. I mean, what's wrong with that? It's just getting everybody to sit down and play in the same sandbox and be nice. I agree, the culture thing. Once in a while, you do need to tell them, remember the reason we do this program, the reason we're reading to kids, and that. And guys go, "Yeah, you're right." Once in a while, you need a reminder. But the visibility, like you guys are doing in the community, is incredible.
Well, it is, and you talk about the little tidbits that you get to do. All of our shirts now say IFF Local 710. We got some guff from other chiefs going, "Why are you doing that?" Well, because you have a strong union, you have a strong department, strong union, and you try to, maintain that every way you can. So they just signed a 5-year contract last night, and this is what our union did. is in their contract they have senior status. In the senior status, there's things like community involvement that you have to do, a whole physical fitness things that you have to do, and this is something that they came on their own that to me makes the city look great, but at the same time, that's what they did for themselves.
Well, the whole professional Idaho, the whole state association there, union-wise, I was proud. I mean, I had the honor of teaching for them. They had me down a couple times to teach for them, and I did it on the armor. I'm not going to charge my own union, my own state. Mm-hmm. What a great, I mean, at least they used to be, Kenny, what a great progressive, your union's progressive, but here again it goes, the relationship thing, having a state association that supports and backs, and we used to have fun. I mean, there were some folks in that board that weren't there. They were pretty incredible.
But still have a great time. I told you we were at the grand opening of the Idaho State Fallen Firefighter Memorial in Boise.
How beautiful is that thing?
And you know Tracy Rayner. He is as good as they come. Tracy is the best of the best, and he had set this whole thing up. And it was pretty much a Professional Firefighters of Idaho event, and Tracy pulled it off great with the help of the PFFI, and it's just makes you so proud to have something like that in our state. And that was spearheaded by Tracy and a few folks down there and the PFFI. It was just great.
Well, there's so many places that don't have that luxury. They don't have, for whatever reason, they got egos on both sides. I got spoiled. I got spoiled there in Illinois, having two great state associations, open arms, welcomed when welcome the brother, and just because you're wearing 5 on your collar doesn't mean you're a bad guy or you're a mutt. That's quite the opposite sometimes. And they were awesome, and that's the stuff I remember you guys hosting. Coeur d'Alene, the mayors and managers group, driving them on the antique fire engine, cooking for them and everything. Kenny, I got to share with you a story. I was in Charlotte, North Carolina, and ready to do a program for about 650 people to do pride and ownership. And the night before, the New Hope Volunteer Fire Department asked if I could come have supper with them at their firehouse. They're right there, and I'm like, absolutely. I get to hang out at a firehouse, and got to sit there with those firefighters in New Hope. And again, everywhere you go, they're incredible group of folks. And we were talking about how do you get involved. And one of them asked me to say, well, how do we get a little bit more involved in things? I said, well, it looks like there's a food drive coming up here. I said, are you guys helping? And he said, well, no, it's not really ours. I said, what you should do, get on a phone call who's running it and say, hey, how about we come out there and load the truck for you? You do all the stuff up front. You get your pictures taken in the paper. Let us just do the bulwark for you and load the truck for you. They're like, really? I said, you got these big red, white, shiny, or whatever color they are, fire engine downstairs. It's a big billboard. You park it. No, it's not us. We're just helping load the truck for them. I mean, right? It doesn't mean you have to go out and create some innovative, which would be nice, program to bring about awareness to the fire department. There's all kinds of things you can jump in and help if you're willing to get out of the firehouse.
Right, and that's the whole key, is just be out there and be visual in your community, because your community loves you. And even in these tougher economic times, the more you're out there, the more your community knows you're out there, the better your chances of not getting your budget cut and still continuing to do the right thing over and over again for your customers.
Well, and again, how do you make it happen with budget constraints, especially now? I guess one of the things, I don't know if you're as frustrated as I am, but there's departments out there that their way to help control the budget, which I'm a big believer in that, to be a good steward of the taxpayer's dollar. But one of their methods is, well, instead of going to a structure fire with a full one-alarm response, we're just going to send one piece of apparatus, and if it's confirmed, or it's confirmed along the way by a police officer or by someone, then we'll send the rest of the rigs. And I'm going, there's a lot of things you can cut. How do you cut down your response that selfishly is there to be there? So not only can you serve the public the best way possible, bring enough people to fight their fire, take care of their emergency, but at the same time protect your firefighters. I mean,
absolutely,
it's lunacy. How do you cut your responses down? And I know I'm going to catch some grief over it, and I know some guys are doing the best they can, and there's some that have been ordered, Kenny, to do it. I'm not blaming them, but how do you willingly say, well, we'll just cut I don't need to send all those guys to the scene, and they pull up, and now they're shorthanded for how many minutes waiting? If that's my kid or your kid in there, I'm going to be pissed.
You get in there and get them. It's that situation. You can't put your folks in harm's way, and there's a lot of tough decisions being made now, and communication with we talked about the C word, communication with our elected officials saying this is not a good way to cut money. Let's figure something else out.
Exactly. How can we still go out and be the full-service fire department we're supposed to be? And Kenny, you and I have talked about there's so many fire departments out there that they're actually giving up stuff. They're giving up their EMS. They're giving up their hazmat. They're giving up their tech rescue. And I'm going, oh, my God, you should be grabbing everything you get your hands on, not giving I know, yeah, it's tough. The volunteer fire service, God, they're facing such a challenge when it comes to recruitment and retention. I truly feel for them when they're trying to. You got people with, I'd say, regular lives coming in to volunteer, and now you've got all these mandates with all these different areas to train them. How do you get that done? And you and I have talked. Call Eddie Buchanan. You want to see how to get it done? Call Eddie Buchanan in Hanover, Virginia. He'll tell you. But I mean, it's just some of the things being placed upon you. It just makes it tough to get the training done, to keep people active. I don't know, Kenny. I mean, back to the whole good boss, bad boss thing. I know what you worked with there. I met one of them when I came there. Horrendous, and thank goodness there was someone that had the guts to correct that at the top and made it for a better place for you guys, and it made it a better place, a lot more fun to come to work again.
So it is a blast to come to work, and every day is something different. I got the committee of 48, I call them, and they all have their opinions, and every day they have something else they want me to do for them. So, you're blessed to be able to wake up and say, oh, I get to go to work today. It's a great thing.
Well, and it's it's not a perfect world, and I'm not wanted here, but I'm for those that aren't a fire chief, it's not as easy as you think, and you just hope that the guys can respect what you're doing. If you're not a mutt, then hopefully you're not. It's tough. I mean, there's different guys at different lives. Kenny, we talk about the young firefighter, great young firefighter, and a lot of times he or she couldn't tell you anything about their pension or health benefits. They could tell you about their Ford F-1000 and what size lift kit they need on it, or their fishing boat, that's okay because it's not on their radar screen.
Right.
I mean,
right.
How did things changed for you as you worked your way? I mean, even before you were with Coeur d'Alene, with running the department you were running, and then going from doing budgets and grants and stuff, and you're working. All of a sudden now you're fire chief, and you're looking at contracts and budgets and stuff, and hoping people make the right decisions. I don't know. Once in a while, do you find yourself getting bogged down? When you're wanting to build fire stations, hire people, dealing with some things that you wish people would be a little bit smarter with what they did decision-wise.
I think that we do that constantly, and you talked about your dream team that kind of makes your life a lot easier. Mine does the same, but yeah, there's still times, often really, that you go, man, can't we just take care of this real quick? And again, we're trying for Station 4 and getting our new battalion chiefs up and running, and our job is to progress the fire service, but there's times you shake your head, and thank goodness you don't have many of the days where it's like I want to go back on the line, because you don't. You need to have the leaders that want to continue the forward progress in this great fire service we're in. There's the people I look up to, you and Tracy Rayner. You're the ones. Find your people that you think the world of, and call them and say, I'm having a bad day, and they're going to lift you up, and away you go again.
And how many you and I have done that? I've whined and had my little pity party, in front of you, and you've been a good shoulder to lean on, just like some other friends I have. And I joke about it. I'm like, I can't believe the best position they have. Would have been the captain of the truck and all this stuff. But it goes back to you and I along the same line. And think of, if we're trying to do a good job and we have our heart in it, then maybe that's one less mutt that's out there ruining things.
Yeah.
For people.
Exactly. It's like we've talked before, and it's that if you're going to put your people first, put your people first. Don't just say it, mean it. And when you mean it, go do it. And then, there's those rewards that we get to see the good things happening.
Well, a lot of people out there, like you say, talking the talk, but when it comes time to walk it, they can't do it. And you either have your troops' best interests at heart, and you want to take care of them, and that's if you're a paid chief, volunteer chief combination, you got to have your heart in it for the guys. And guys out there, if you're a firefighter, company officer, turn it around. You need to be, you need to be a good team player, be a good soldier, if you will. And, if you're facing some problems, deal with it. But, don't become part of the problem. I think Kenny actually, backing up a little bit, that may have what happened a little bit. I know it did in Coeur d'Alene as it was in Louisville, that the guys got so frustrated. They got so just, that they went from being someone who people felt sorry for to being someone who was made fun of, or that they looked at, what a bunch of whiners. Hell, they were ready to get rid of your fire department.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. They didn't have that person out there marketing them and making them look good. And so, I think human nature is, well, he's not making us look good. Why are we going to make that person look good? And I think that's human nature. Yeah, you're exactly right. Man, it's just the change, the metamorphosis is amazing. But at the same time, we need to make sure we're not our worst enemies, too.
Well, and you guys, proof positive is to drive through Coeur d'Alene, look at the firehouses, the new administration building, look at your tech rescue fleet, the rigs, and the things that you're doing, the cooperation, and just, the good stuff going on in that area with the state, with the state association, with the state chiefs. The list goes on and on. Progressive thinkers, here, going from a fire department that was ready to be given away, and here we had some just horrible times going on, to becoming two. And again, it's not Kenny or Rick that's making this happen out there. Understand me, and we're not just saying that. It takes the troops. It takes the people on the line, Kenny, right? They're the ones that are going to make this happen. You and I said it before, you and I are not going to wave a magic wand and it's going to happen. It's going to take the guys really wanting to make it happen.
Yeah, they should never know that we're even around because they do such a good job that we're just in the back. And it's so much fun to watch them and then see the satisfaction when they know there was a good job done. And I'm not just talking about, keeping the fire to the room of origin. I'm talking about the wonderful things that they do every day. And everybody says, well, my folks. Chief, you and I know it's our folks that do this.
Absolutely. What a great way to make that statement, buddy. You're right, because you talked about staff. We're talking about truly going from that fire department to the fire department. Something that people say, I wish I was more like them. Because tell me you don't have some guilt feelings when you leave a chiefs meeting and you hear other chiefs going off about all their problems and woe is me, and you look, you go, wow, if what I've got going is all I've got to do, you almost feel guilty. You're kind of smiling inside going, God, I'm glad I'm not there.
I've said 100 times I wouldn't trade my problems for anybody else's.
And, again, it takes that good staff we mentioned. It takes good bosses. It takes having a good, when you talk about staff, having a good partner. And I think you know where I'm going to go with this one. Who's your administrative assistant, your administrative secretary there?
Well, Jamie McDaniel. And to think that we run the fire department, we know we don't. It's those great administrative assistants, and she is as good as they come, and thank goodness, because it makes my life significantly easier having her right next door to me.
Oh, don't you love when they tell you? It's great. I joke all the time because I said I had two Jamies in my life there. My wife Jamie and my Jamie at work, and I couldn't win for losing either place. But thank God I did. I'll never forget the time that one of your captains came in, and the next thing I knew, she just ripped it. It was ripped into this 30-year captain, about something that he should have been ripped into about. And then about 20 minutes later, the door opens, and he eases over. He's at the copy machine making a copy. Then he went over, and it's kind of funny because I remember Big Paul Fromm saying, you know what, just here's the lesson right here for you, Chief. Nobody messes with Jamie. And you're right. They're the ones that run the fire department. I couldn't hang up with you without talking about Jamie McDaniel and what an impact. Any good fire chief realizes that your administrative assistant or your secretary or your staff makes it all happen.
That's exactly right. You got your big help here and your big help your wife at home, and without them, we'd all be in trouble.
Exactly. Well, Kenny, you know what? I get asked questions all the time about how do we get things the way they were in Louisville, and I'm sure you get it with Coeur d'Alene. If anybody wants to get a hold of you to just chat, email you, or call you and go, okay, can I pick your brain, Chief? We're going through these problems here, and wherever such and such department, wherever I'm at, and here's what we got. What do you think? Or how did you guys get it that way in Coeur d'Alene? How could they get a hold of you if they want to email you or give you a call?
Well, we encourage anybody to ask any questions, and my email is kgabriel, Gabriel, at cdaid.org. And my phone number here to my office is 208-769-2499. 2242.
Outstanding. So if there's anybody out there that wants to get a hold of Kenny, we've been visiting with Chief Kenny Gabriel, the fire chief in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Very progressive fire department, progressive community. He's blessed like I am. I've got great bosses here. He works for one of the most incredible city managers in the country and a mayor who is just absolutely wonderful and incredible. Great group. I'll tell you, if you're ever in Coeur d'Alene, if you don't stop in the firehouse and visit with one of the guys or gals there, you're missing out. And just like here, they're going to, if it's supper time, be ready to eat. They're going to welcome you with open arms. So, Kenny, I can't thank you enough, brother, for being on the show.
Oh, my pleasure, Chief. Fantastic talking to you.
I love you, pal. Be careful. Give everybody a hug. We've been visiting again with Chief Kenny Gabriel from the Coeur d'Alene Fire Department. Some great stuff. Again, any information you want, going from that fire department to the fire department, if you're willing to put a little bit of work behind it, is not that difficult. It takes you getting out and bragging about your people if you're the fire chief. It gets you out bragging about your department if you're the rookie. It gets you out there as a firefighter company officer. It takes getting you out there and making things happen and being part of the community, getting out of the firehouse and making things happen. I promise you, you get out, you get involved, good things will happen, and you can get that whole kind of thing changed around, and just watch. It'll happen for you. Good things are just around the corner when you're out there making a difference in your community. With that, we're going to end this like we always do, and we always ask you to please be safe. I'm Rick Lasky. You can get me at rick@prideandownership.com. Any questions, anything else you need, any ideas, please feel free. Once again, be safe.